They tell you to be present, to listen, to open up. They say women want you to express your emotions, but they forget to mention something else, something they never say out loud because it unravels everything polite society wants you to believe. Women don't crave your vulnerability. They crave the void you leave behind when you withhold it. All this time, you've been handing out every feeling, every thought, every explanation, like a dog dropping bones in her lap. And you wonder why she stops chasing, because she can already see everything. There's no mystery, no question, no tension, no hunger. You became an open book and she closed it. But here's what no one tells you: the male who learns to detach, not out of fear, but out of certainty, becomes a paradox she can't stop solving. Not because he's playing games, but because he stopped being available for dissection. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become that man, the one she can't quite pin down. The one who makes her crave without ever lifting a finger. You stop texting back right away and her pulse quickens. You don't say "I miss you" when she's fishing for it, and suddenly her mind starts spinning. You look at her like you could have her, but you don't need to. And that's when she starts needing you. It's not about being cold. It's not about being manipulative. It's about reclaiming the part of you that got trained to seek approval. The part of you that was taught to treat her validation like oxygen. You were raised in a world that taught you to win women through performance jokes. Money, attention, flattery, obedience. You thought the way to her heart was through proving yourself. But proving yourself is the opposite of presence. It's a kind of self-abandonment. You become the actor, not the source. The man she truly desires, the one who gets under her skin, isn't auditioning. He's not showing his resume. He's not waiting for her reaction. He just is. He walks into a room and it doesn't even cross his mind to impress her. He doesn't check her facial expression for approval. He doesn't break eye contact nervously. And here's the catch: she doesn't feel rejected by this. She feels challenged. She feels exposed. She senses that your detachment is not hostility, it's mastery. You're not cold. You're full. You sit across from her in silence. She fidgets. She tries to fill the void. She touches her hair, looks at her phone, bites her lip. You watch, you don't react. You don't perform. You see her, and you let her see you, not the polished version, but the one that doesn't need to entertain. That's when she starts craving you like a puzzle she can't solve. Because in that detachment, you reflect something she's rarely faced: her own hunger. That simple pause. That silence. That stillness. That's the seed. Not aloofness. Not avoidance. But the discipline of not rushing in to fill every space. Because when you stop scrambling to hold her attention, you give her something far more addictive: a void she wants to enter. She texts, "Are you okay?" You are. She says, "You've been distant." You have. And instead of apologizing, you just say, "I've been focused." That's it. No emoji, no desperation. You let your silence speak louder than any pleading ever could. She leans in, even as she pretends she doesn't care. She posts a thirst trap. She brings up your name around mutual friends. She laughs a little louder when she knows you're nearby. Why? Because now she's performing. And you're the source she wants to return to. That's what detachment is. Not pretending. Not playing hard to get. Just being deeply rooted in your own gravity. No longer orbiting around her reactions. But the hardest part: most men can't do it. They say they want to be respected, desired, admired, but they flinch the moment it gets quiet. They mistake anxiety for connection. They can't sit in the burn. You want her to feel it? Then you have to feel it first. You have to sit with your own craving and not chase. You have to let the silence stretch longer than feels safe. You have to walk away when your body screams to stay. Because that's where your edge is forged, in the space between want and restraint. And that's when you become rare. That's when you become unforgettable. Not because of what you give her, but because of what you refuse to give away too quickly. You don't tell her your whole story. You don't confess your feelings on the second date. You don't explain every decision. You let her wonder. You let her wait. You let her miss you. Because women don't crave what they understand. They crave what they can't quite figure out. You show up, and you don't smile first. You let her feel the heat of your presence before you speak. You don't ask if she's okay out of obligation. You ask if you truly care. Or you don't ask at all. You don't send morning texts just to keep her warm. You don't validate her beauty when you sense she's fishing for it. You observe. You stay calm. You become the mirror she didn't expect. Because here's what no one dares say: her attraction isn't born from your kindness. It's born from your gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, it pulls. She may have 100 guys in her phone who send hearts and good morning, beautiful texts. She may post a story and get flooded with replies. But none of it matters, because all that noise feels flat next to the silence you leave behind. Detachment isn't about being absent, it's about being unavailable to control. It's about not giving her the lever to your nervous system. When she flirts to get a rise and you smile slowly instead of jumping, that's the moment she remembers you're different. You don't bite the bait. You see it for what it is. You enjoy the game, but you don't need to win it. And when she realizes you're not a puppet for her approval, something ancient in her wakes up, a part of her that remembers what it means to yearn. She starts analyzing everything: your texts, your tone, your pauses. She reads silence like scripture. Because now, the mystery has returned, and it's not just about you. It's about her reflection in your detachment. The most dangerous man isn't the loudest. He's the one who sees everything and says nothing. He's the one who can walk away while she's still mid-sentence. Not to punish, not to disappear, but because he doesn't owe her his presence just for existing. He values his time, his peace, his direction, and she has to earn access to that. When you stop offering your energy to every glance, every text, every mood swing, she either rises or fades, and either way, you stay grounded. Because the core of detachment is this: you are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose. You'll watch her flip from cold to sweet, from distant to needy, from mocking to admiring, and you won't chase any of it. You'll simply witness. You'll let her reveal herself while you remain unshaken. Because your validation no longer comes from being wanted, it comes from being centered. You're the flame now. You no longer beg to be warmed. She leans in closer, not because you pulled her, but because you stopped pulling. She senses it. She might not even know why, but the energy shift hits her gut. She dreams of you, even when she tries to forget. She replays your words in bed, wondering if she missed something. She remembers your stillness like an echo in a cathedral, loud, haunting, impossible to ignore. And when she texts, "I've been thinking about you," you don't jump. You don't rush to fill the silence. You let it breathe. Because now, she's the one wondering. She's the one craving. And you've finally learned how to withhold without fear. You don't give in because she's beautiful. You don't soften because she cries. You don't explain yourself into submission. You hold your truth like a blade, clean, steady, silent, and she feels it cut through every layer of her control. She thought she had power. She thought she could string you along like the others. But detachment isn't weakness. It's the highest form of strength. And the man who holds it makes women addicted not to his attention, but to the lack of it. Because when a man no longer needs her validation, she has only two choices: rise to meet him, or fall trying to forget him. She'll test you. She'll push. She'll beg without begging. She'll act like she doesn't care. She'll mirror your silence and hope you flinch. But if you hold, if you stay steady, if you let the tension rise without cracking, that's when she breaks. That's when her craving spills out in places she can't hide. In glances, in breath, in touch. And you don't move. You simply allow, because you've become the man she doesn't understand, and that's why she'll never forget you. You sit across from her and you don't reach. You don't fill the air with noise. You let her feel the weight of your presence like a pressure in her chest she can't name. She laughs a little too loud. She touches your arm. She leans in, but you don't flinch. You don't chase her signal like a starving animal. You let her orbit. And the more still you remain, the more she spins. That's what creates craving, not movement, but silence. Not gestures, but refusal. Not attention, but the calm absence of it. Because here's the brutal truth: women aren't addicted to your presence. They're addicted to the question your detachment creates. The why. The what is he thinking? The why didn't he reply? The was I not enough? And that hunger, it gnaws at her. Not because you hurt her, not because you ghosted, but because you stopped broadcasting. The second you go silent, she turns inward. And she starts digging not into you, but into herself. That's why it works. That's why the craving deepens. Because when you detach, she can no longer lean on your attention to soothe her own doubts. She can't use your compliments to silence her insecurities. Now she has to face them alone. And guess what? Most won't survive it. But the ones who do, the ones who rise, will crave you not because you fed them, but because you starved their illusions. It's not a tactic. It's not a trick. It's a state. A way of being that says, I am whole. Come closer if you want, but I do not bend to desire. And ironically, that's the exact posture that awakens her deepest desire. Not because she's broken, but because her feminine energy wants to be pulled toward power, not neediness, not chaos, but the grounded, detached stillness of a man who doesn't flinch under pressure. You don't explain. You don't justify. You don't ask her what she's thinking. You let her bring it. You let her initiate. And when she does, you don't melt. You hold. That's what separates boys from men. Emotional discipline. The ability to feel the fire and not run toward it. To feel the coldness of her withdrawal and not panic. To feel the ache and stay sovereign. Because most men collapse. They cave the moment they feel her pulling away. They double text. They write paragraphs. They call at midnight. They beg for clarity. They start chasing shadows. And she feels it. She feels the emotional imbalance. She knows she has you, and once she knows that, something dies. The polarity fades, but if you don't chase, if you don't collapse, if you let the silence stretch and keep living your life without shrinking, she spirals. She can't shake it. She replays everything. The smirk, the silence, the way you looked at her like you already knew the ending. And it drives her mad with curiosity, because craving isn't born from what she gets. It's born from what she almost gets, from what's just out of reach, from the space you leave when you don't offer everything. And in that space, she creates fantasies. She fills in the blanks with desire. She starts to believe you are the one man she cannot read. And that belief, that's the hook. Because a woman will leave a man she understands, but she'll chase a man she can't decode. You become that man when you detach not with arrogance, but with certainty. You're not afraid to lose her because you were never trying to possess her in the first place. And ironically, that's what makes her want to be possessed. Not by your need, but by your presence. By the gravity of your self-possession. By the stillness that makes her feel like prey again. You don't lure, you don't bait. You simply don't need to be anywhere but here. And that detachment creates the craving that no compliment, no gift, no performance ever could. She doesn't want your emotions handed to her. She wants to work for them. She wants to earn your softness. She wants to feel the cost of getting inside you. Because when she has to reach, every inch she gains becomes sacred. Every look from you becomes a reward. Every touch becomes a triumph. And in that, she falls. Not for your words, but for your restraint. You wake up and you don't reach for your phone. You don't check if she texted. You don't stalk her stories. You move through your day like a man who remembers his own life matters more than her attention. That's the difference. Most men disappear into her orbit. They forget their purpose the moment she smiles. You remember. Because the deepest craving a woman can feel is not for your affection. It's for your attention when it's rare. She doesn't melt because you're sweet. She melts because you made her wait. She doesn't crave you because you're always there. She craves you because she doesn't know when you'll return. You've become her silence. You echo in the gaps. You haunt the pauses. You leave space, and that space becomes the canvas where her obsession paints itself. And it's not just about desire. It's psychological. When you pull back, the tension builds. The same tension she used to command by flipping her hair, by pouting, by walking away. But this time, you own the silence. You're not reacting. You're choosing. That flips the dynamic. Now she's decoding your behavior. Now she's trying to earn back what she thought she already had. That's the craving that cuts deeper than lust. It's the craving for redemption. She starts making effort, real effort, thoughtful messages, soft gestures, vulnerability, because she wants to close the distance. But this time, it's not you chasing her approval, it's her chasing your re-engagement. And when you give it sparingly with presence, with clarity, with no apology, it hits her like thunder. It means something. That's what women remember. Not the guy who was always available, but the man who was present when it mattered. The one who didn't need to be needed. The one who gave not from emptiness, but from abundance. And here's the brutal part: most men fake this. They pretend to be detached, but they're seething underneath. They go silent, but it's a manipulation, not mastery. You want this to work? It can't be an act. You can't detach to get her. You have to detach because you already have yourself. You don't wait to see if she'll come around. You move on. You grow. You build. You expand, not to provoke, but because you're not putting your life on pause for maybe. And the paradox is, that's when she returns. Not when you're watching, not when you're hoping, but when you've finally forgotten to care. That's the moment her craving becomes unbearable. She realizes the one man she could never quite grip is the one man who no longer waits at all. She might text at midnight. She might call after weeks of silence. She might show up in your DMs, light and casual, testing the waters, and you won't leap. You'll sit with it. You'll decide. You won't entertain for ego. You'll ask, does this align with the man I'm becoming? Because now you have standards. You aren't the same man she left. You've burned through the need. You've stood in the fire of detachment and came out colder, clearer, calmer. That man, he can have any woman, but he doesn't chase any of them. He attracts by being untouchable in spirit, and she knows. She feels it. She might not admit it. She might not show it. But late at night, when she scrolls and sees your name, there's a part of her that aches for another chance to be seen by the man she didn't understand. Because here's the truth that no one dares say: you don't make her crave you by loving her more. You make her crave you by loving yourself more than her reaction. And that's when she realizes she lost a man she never actually had, and that's the kind of loss that lingers forever.